Have you ever wondered what the best, most effective exercises are for your body? One of the most common questions I get asked, and believe me, I get them, is what's the best exercise for this muscle? Or what's the best exercise for that muscle? Whether you want to lose weight, gain muscle, or somewhere in between, these are the 19 movement patterns that you should be doing that have helped hundreds of women. So first up, we've got the squat movement. A squat is one of the best compound movements, working multiple muscle groups in the lower body and core. Depending on the squat variation, different muscle groups can be emphasized, but here's the general breakdown. You've got your quads that work the hardest to extend the knee as you stand up. You've got your glutes, which are heavily involved in the hip extension, especially as you come out of the bottom of the squat. And then you have your hamstrings, which assist with the hip extension and knee stabilization. There's a wide variation of squats, from body weight squats, dumbbell squats, barbell squats. We can do front squats with a barbell. There's Smith machine squats, hack squats. You can do a leg press, which is a version of a squat, and belt squats. My personal favorite, the belt squat, because it takes the load off of my back, and the front squat because it challenges my core better, and for me, it feels better than a back squat. Next up, we've got the hip hinge, like a bend and snap. A hip hinge is a fundamental movement that primarily targets the posterior chain. In other words, your glutes, hamstrings, and lower back. Some different versions of this are a barbell RDL, which is gonna focus more on your hamstrings and glutes by keeping a slight knee bend. We've got dumbbell RDLs, which is the same, but you don't run the cheese grater over your legs like you would with a barbell. Then we've got deadlifts, hitting all the major posterior chain muscles. We've also got good mornings, which target the hamstrings, the glutes, and the lower back, while reinforcing proper hinge mechanics. It also challenges your core as you're hinging forward with the load on your upper back. My personal favorite hip hinge movement is a barbell RDL. I actually like to use the Smith machine for these, and I can feel like I can get the best contraction. Number 3, we're moving into leg curl movements. Leg curls are one of the best exercises for directly engaging the hamstrings without bringing the glutes or the lower back into it. For leg curl movements, we've got lying leg curls, which is the classic version that isolates the hamstrings, but can engage the lower back if you're not doing it correctly. Then we've got standing leg curls, which is a unilateral version, and it's great for fixing muscle imbalances. Next up, we've got the seated leg curl. So you're sitting and your hamstrings are in a stretched position when they have no load. And then we've got the Bosu ball leg curls, which is one way you can get your hamstrings activated at home. My favorite on this one is the seated leg curl, because I find it puts my hamstrings in a more stretched position and I can get a better contraction. Taking us into number 4, we've got the leg extension movement. Leg extension movements are gonna train your quads, which is the muscle up the front of your upper leg. This makes it one of the best movements for directly working the front of your thigh without engaging other muscle groups. The main one for this is the leg extension machine. It's the classic version. If you want, you can swap it up and do a single leg, so we lighten the load and just use one leg at a time if you want to work on imbalances. Then we've also got sissy squats. I'm personally not a big fan of these. So my favorite in the leg extension movements is the leg extension machine. Lucky number 5, the lunge movement. Everyone loves to hate lunges. They just don't want to do them. They take forever. Starting into our lunge movements, we have the forward lunge, which I would say is a bit more quad dominant. If you're leaning forward, you might be able to hit a bit more glutes with it. Then we've got the reverse lunge, which I find to be a bit more glute and hamstring focused than the forward lunge because of the added hip flexion. Then we've got walking lunges, which is going to help a bit more with core engagement. We've got the Bulgarian split squats, which are a brutal version that torches the quads and glutes. If you know, you know. We've got front foot elevated split squats, which increase your range of motion for extra glute and hamstring activation. And we've got step ups, which can be less knee stress since you're stepping up onto an elevated surface. The movement tends to be easier on the knees than a forward lunge, which can create a shearing force. My personal favorite, I like reverse lunges, preferably on the Smith machine, or Bulgarian split squats. Don't judge me. Coming into number 6, we have the hip thrust movement. Hip thrusts are one of the best movements for glute development, but they also activate other key muscle groups like the hamstrings, core, and lower back. When you're doing a hip thrust, if you have your feet positioned closer to your bum, you're gonna get more quad involvement. But if your heels are a little bit further away from your bum, then you're gonna get more hamstrings. If you put your feet in a position that keeps your knees at about 90 degrees, you're gonna get the best contraction in your glutes. Coming into these movements, we have the dumbbell hip thrust. I find them awkward, and you might as well move to a barbell if you're moving past a body weight hip thrust or glute bridge. Then we've got the barbell hip thrust, the gold standard for heavy glute loading. And then we've got the hip thrust machine, which similar to a Smith machine, it's going to provide you some stability and control. And often they have a softer seatbelt type harness or a thicker pad for a little bit more comfort on the old hip bones. My personal favorite, the hip thrust machine. For the reasons I just mentioned, it's usually more comfortable. Plus, sometimes you can get a better range of motion because some machines allow for a deeper hip flexion and extension. Number 7, we've got the vertical pull. A vertical pull is any pulling movement where you're pulling resistance down towards you, typically from an overhead position. This movement primarily targets your upper back and arms. It's great for developing your lat width, your strength, and your pulling power. Coming into these movements, we've got the wide grip pull down, we've got the close grip pull down, single arm pull downs, then we've got pull-ups. These are best for overall back development, core engagement, and relative strength. We've also got assisted pull-ups if you're not quite at a pull-up yet. My personal favorite on these ones is the close grip pull down. I feel like I can move the most weight and it just makes me feel good. Number 8, we've got horizontal pull movements. A horizontal pull focuses more on mid-back thickness and scapular retraction. Horizontal pull movements are things like barbell rows, dumbbell rows, single arm rows. We've got the seated cable close grip row, wide grip rows, and chest supported dumbbell rows. My personal favorite is the single arm row. I feel like I can get the best contraction in my lats doing these ones. Number 9, we've got the vertical push movements. So a vertical push is a movement involving pressing weight over your head. This works the shoulders, triceps, and upper chest. First up, rolling into these, we've got the standing barbell press. This is a classic barbell movement, but I find myself and others will start to quote unquote cheat and use their legs when they get fatigued. Using a barbell can also be a bit of a learning curve for a beginner because you have to get your nose out of the way. And it can be difficult to get your arms up into position to press to get the full range of motion at the bottom. The seated dumbbell press, which is great for unilateral work and better range of motion. It also takes your ability to use your legs out of the equation. We've got the machine shoulder press and then the single arm dumbbell press, which is gonna add extra core work, having to stabilize your body and keep your form. My personal favorite in this one is of course the seated dumbbell press because otherwise I like to use my legs. Number 10, we've got the horizontal push movements. These movements emphasize your chest, shoulders, and triceps by pushing the weight in front of your body. Coming into these movements, we have the barbell bench press. I like these because once you start gaining strength, you can generally go heavier than using dumbbells. Then we've got the dumbbell bench press. Often in these, you can get a better range of motion. And then we've got the machine chest press. So there's a variation of different machines that you can find in your gym that are gonna do this one for you. Each one is a little bit different. My personal favorite, the dumbbell bench press, because you can get a real good stretch at the bottom and I feel like you can get the most range of motion. Number 11, lateral raise movements. This is more of an isolation movement that primarily targets your side delts. This helps to build a wider shoulder and overall adds to the aesthetics of your shoulders. When you're doing these, you want to make sure you're thinking about lifting with your elbows instead of with your wrists or your hands. Coming into these movements, we have the dumbbell lateral raise. Again, when you're doing these, you want to think about a string being tied to your elbow, pulling it up versus lifting with your wrist or your hand. Give it a try and let me know if you feel the difference. The second movement we have here is cable lateral raises. These are going to keep constant tension on that delt, whereas a dumbbell lateral raise, when you're all the way down at the bottom, there's no tension. My personal favorite is still the dumbbell lateral raise. Number 12, front raise movements. I'm gonna say it right now. I like to do palms up front raise, and I know it hits your chest a little bit more, but it's still my favorite. And it's because I'm trap dominant, and when my arm comes down here with weight on it, I can see my traps and it makes me smile. Anyways, front raise movements are an isolated movement that generally trains the front of your delt or shoulder. This makes it a great movement for shoulder definition and overall strength. Coming into these, we have the barbell front raise, which allows for a heavier load, but it can also be harder on your shoulders. Then we've got the dumbbell front raise, which is pretty much the classic version. And we've got the cable front raise, which is gonna provide that constant tension throughout the movement. My personal favorite on these ones, can you guess? Cable front raises. Constant tension, big stretches, and full range of motion are 3 of my favorite things. Unlucky 13, we've got fly movements. I'm talking about a reverse fly, which is an isolated movement that primarily trains your rear delts and upper back. Coming into these, we have the chest supported rear delt flies, which can be a bit awkward. We've got machine rear delt flies. These allow for more of a strict form and better isolation. And then we've got the cable rear delt flies, which provide constant resistance throughout the motion. My favorite on these guys is, can you guess? The machine rear delt fly. And I like to sit side saddle and reach across myself. So I'll sit sideways and reach to the left side with my right arm to get a big stretch and a bigger range of motion, 2 of my 3 favorite things. 14, we've got bicep curl movements. Curls for the girls? Is that how that goes? A bicep curl is an isolated movement that, you guessed it, trains your biceps. There's a variety of these, from barbell bicep curls, which allow for a heavier load, dumbbell bicep curls, which is the standard free weight version. We've got dumbbell hammer curls, which target the brachialis and forearms a little bit more. We've got reverse curls, which are gonna get the forearms a little bit more. Incline curls, which stretch the bicep more for better muscle activation. We've got spider curls, preacher curls, which isolate the biceps more strictly and reduce the momentum. You cannot cheat on these. And then we've got the cable curl, which provides constant tension throughout the movement. My favorite on these ones would have to be either the preacher curl or an incline curl. I feel like I can get the best contraction, and in an incline curl, I get the biggest stretch and then contraction. Number 15, tricep pushdown movements. So a tricep pushdown is an isolated movement that, can you guess what it trains? Your triceps, otherwise known as the bat wing or bingo arms. For these movements, we've got the easy bar tricep pushdown, which reduces your wrist strain because it offers a more joint-friendly position. We've got the rope tricep pushdowns, which allow for better range of motion and a stronger contraction. And then we've got single arm tricep pushdowns, which help correct muscle imbalances and improve your mind-muscle connection. My favorite for the tricep movements is the rope tricep pushdown. I feel like I can get the best overall contraction on that one. Plus my triceps are huge. Number 16, we've got core movements. Core movements can come in either anti-movement core exercises or dynamic core exercises. So anti-movement would be a core stabilization, like a plank or an anti-rotation of some sort. And then a dynamic one would be one where there's active spinal movement throughout the exercise. For examples of these movements, we have cable crunches, which would be a dynamic core exercise, lying leg raises, which is going to help more for your lower core. We've got hanging knee raises, which is going to test your upper body strength while working that lower core. A more challenging version of that is a hanging leg raise. Then for some anti-movement ones, we've got planks or side planks. My favorite for these, I can't pick between the two. I really like cable crunches. I find those get my upper core better, and I like them in combination with something for my lower core, which my preference is a hanging leg raise. Those two movements, and maybe ab wheel rollouts, in combination with eating lean meats, fruits, and veggies in a calorie deficit, is what took me from non-visible six-pack to visible six-pack. Unfortunately, it didn't make me any cooler. Number 17, calf raises. Calf raises are an isolated movement that target your calves. It also helps with ankle stability and endurance. For these movements, we have body weight calf raises, which are a great place to start, but you might want to add some weight in pretty soon. Then we've got dumbbell calf raises. So you're just hanging on to some dumbbells while you're doing calf raises, which is going to increase the load so you can focus on progressive overload. We've got machine calf raises. You can generally get more weight onto them than you can hold in your hands with dumbbells. And then we've got leg press calf raises. You can generally get a lot more weight on the leg press machine. My favorite is the leg press calf raise because it's just easy to add in when I'm doing leg presses. One thing we didn't talk about was a seated calf raise. If you can find a seated calf raise machine at your gym, or take a couple dumbbells, stick them on your knees, and sit down and do some calf raises, this is gonna target the lower part of your calf a little bit more if you're looking for some variation. Number 18, we've got heart-lung capacity exercises, otherwise known as cardio. It's good for your health. It's not the best way to achieve fat loss, but it is good for your heart health. If you find yourself gassed going up a flight of stairs, or you notice as soon as you do anything physical, your heart beats in your ears, making you feel like you're gonna have a heart attack, these might be beneficial for you. Some different variations are sprints, air bike, burpees, or the Stairmaster. You can get your cardio in with your significant other in the bedroom, or if you try to park a camper, if you know, you know, fucking and fighting. My personal favorite is fighting with your significant other, actually. Stair climber right now. It's a good challenge. Number 19, the what about exercises. Now I know some of you are going, but what about upside down Bosu ball squats? What about glute kickbacks? You didn't say those. What about an Arnold press? What about a lunge to a bicep curl to an overhead press? XT, the movements you mentioned are boring. I need variety. I need to shock my muscles. I think most women overvalue the unimportant but fun novelty exercises. Novelty exercises that are popularized by influencers, and they undervalue the boring basic stuff like push-ups. So boring I didn't even put them in here. There's a reason those exercises have stood the test of time. Things like squats and push-ups. Everything I've covered up until this point is everything you need to achieve forever body results, in combination with calorie deficit and better nutrition likely. You don't need to shock your muscles by doing random exercises. Some of the most famous athletes of all time have done the same workouts for years. You're a human with a human body, so you're no different. It'll work for you. So there you have it. These are the 19 exercises that are going to help you lose weight, gain muscle, get healthier, and a more lean, strong strong body. This is the first of many videos on YouTube, and we're focused on delivering long-form value to you guys. So if you want to stay up to date, make sure you hit subscribe. I'd love to know in the comments section what's your favorite movement pattern, and out of all the exercises that I listed, what's your favorite?